So you've flown on shuttle, Soyuz, obviously spent 2 long-duration missions on ISS, and then you get to see Bob and Doug come up on a commercial crew vehicle. Can you just talk a little bit about the significance of that and kind of where we are in the space program?
Well, what was cool for me on a personal level is I flew with Doug on my shuttle. It was both of our first missions. I flew with Karen, Doug's better half, on my second mission, Expedition 35 and 6. And then it was really nice to have Doug be there again for the third mission. I used to only fly with Tom Marshburn, but he bailed out on me on this one. So now I only fly with a member of the Hurley Nyberg family. But just in general, it was so awesome to be part of that part of our nation's manned spaceflight history. At first I was looking at it as a view of, oh, this is cool that this is that I'm seeing Bob and Doug, and good friends, and they're coming in my expedition. And I took a step back and realized this is a pretty significant part in space history, right? Like, you flip through chapter books on space history and you've got different programs, and first flights of all those programs are major milestones.
Yeah.
And this is no different, and it's kicking off a whole new kind of method to get to the space station. Exciting to launch from Florida again. And I remember thinking that on launch day, their launch, we passed directly over the launch pad 2 minutes before launch. So in that 2 minutes, it sounds really close, but 2 minutes, we were already like up by South Carolina or something. So we couldn't just see out the window their liftoff, and it was daytime, so difficult to see the contrast of the rocket. But I got a great view of the launch pad, took a nice photo of it moments before liftoff, and then NASA TV was being piped up to us, and we were watching live. And Yvonne and I had this whole scheme of which windows we had cameras going, and we had it all. We kind of did a little rehearsal on how to manipulate all the cameras, kind of like these guys setting up the set, making right before liftoff, and then shortly after liftoff, I just focused on NASA TV and was glued to that thing. I remember being so excited.
My heart, when I'm watching a rocket launch on NASA TV, my heart is racing. I'm nervous.
Well, it's different when it's your friends, right?
Yeah.
Now that you're an astronaut, you know those people. They're your colleagues, they're your friends, you know their families. And it's entirely different than when you're just Woody at MIT and interested in space, but not personally invested in them.
Right.
And same thing for me. I'm on the space station, first manned rocket launch of that type, and like, go, just so excited. And then the engine's cut off and it's all good. Yeah. But yeah, same thing.
I knew before I got to NASA that launch and landing are 2 really dynamic phases of flight, and they're scary. I mean, we're taking some risks in that. And I think something I didn't fully appreciate until I got here is, talking to some veterans and talking to people that really know, EVA is maybe a third one, where we're doing some risky stuff. Obviously, we're doing it as safely as we can, but I'm curious, do you think of it that way, similar to launch and landing? And are you nervous going out the door, like you might be anticipating a launch?
Well, I think everyone is a little your nerves are on edge on your first one. As you do a few more, you get a little more comfortable with the whole situation. But what surprised me on this one, the first of the 4 that Bob and I did, which was the first one for me for 7 years and the last one since Luca and I went out and all that water in the helmet problem happened, it was just another morning as I was going through the morning, and we got into the deep press and the hatches closed and we start moving air out of the crew lock, and it got to the low pressures where I knew my next actions were opening the hatch, and I felt my heart race a little bit. And I was thinking to myself, what are you doing, man? Settle down. And I opened the hatch and out I went, and I remember feeling a little like I wanted to go fast, and I even thought to myself, they're going to call on the radio and say to slow down.
Because they're watching all your
Because they're
data.
watching all your heart rate data and everything. And they did do that. But it only lasted a minute or 2. But it surprised me that I had that kind of first time feeling a little bit on this one. And then it was just so awesome to be out there with Bob, somebody who's so capable and talented. And I think we fell into a rhythm pretty fast. And that was very settling. Bob and I have never done even an NBL run together. The first time we've ever done any spacewalk activity was on a real EVA, but it didn't feel like that. It just kind of clicked. your questions about the risk of it, you definitely, you get a sense for it when you're outside. And what I think most is now we're at a phase where I can only help Bob and Bob can only help me. You as Capcom can't, flight director can't. They can provide good ideas and direction, but at the end of the day, the two people out there are for each other.
You're a busy man, and I don't want to take too much of your time, so it's a true honor to get to talk to you so soon after you landed.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Really fun to see you.
I can't wait till I'm sitting there talking to you about your first space flight. That'll be super cool.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, awesome.
Subscribe for more space.